Well, all good things have to come to an end soon, and my reviews of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films are officially coming to an end today with my review for Spider-Man 3, so let's go ahead and get into it. Spider-Man 3 was directed by Sam Raimi, released in 2007. Once again, stars Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, and James Franco. Added cast Thomas Hayden Church and Topher Grace. And this is regarded by a lot of people as one of the worst comic book movies ever made. I do not fall into that camp. I actually quite enjoy this movie, so I'm just going to go ahead and start talking about it. Starting off with the good, once again, Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I absolutely loved him. There's the whole emo Peter, bully Maguire stuff. We'll get into that later on. But I did really like him as Peter in this movie. I thought he did a really good job, captured the essence of what the character is supposed to be, again, for a third time. And James Franco's arc as Harry Osborn comes full circle in this movie. He plays Harry Osborn, like I said, and he takes on the mantle of the new Goblin, I guess. I really liked him in this movie. I thought he did a really good job, and again, it was a very satisfying conclusion to his arc within this series. Rosemary Harris as Aunt May is once again in this movie. She's not in it a whole bunch. She's only in about 2 scenes from my count. She might have been in more. I don't remember. I'm sorry if she was in more and I forgot. I'm terribly sorry. But she was really good in this movie. Again, had a lot of really good advice for Peter in this movie. Mr. Dinklage, again, hilarious. Not in the movie a whole bunch, but still had a very good couple scenes with Peter. First when Peter yells at him to fix his door, and I thought that was actually a really interesting character moment, because instead of getting mad, Mr. Dinklage realizes that Peter is a good boy, but he's probably going through something and he didn't mean to snap at him, and I really liked that. And finally, obviously, J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson. Again, he's always great. I've always loved this casting. Again, still the single greatest comic book movie casting of all time that will ever be. I absolutely loved him in this movie. This is probably the most screen time he's gotten as the character, and I really like that. A lot of people complain about Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, aka Venom, in this movie, and I don't see the issue. I really liked him as Eddie Brock. He's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I enjoyed his banter with Peter and Spider-Man, and his eventual transformation into Venom is still a very intense scene when the symbiote gets on him. And unpopular opinion, the comments section is probably already hell, seeing how I just praised Topher Grace in this movie. I actually find this version of Venom scarier than whatever they're doing with the Tom Hardy version of Venom. I really liked this version of Venom. Sure, he could have been a little bulkier and his fingernails are very weird. And I feel like he takes off the mask a bit too much. But I still enjoy this version of Venom. I feel like the best villain in this movie, though, is Sandman, played by Thomas Hayden Church. He had a very, very good character development, very good story, very good acting from Thomas Hayden Church, who I feel is an underrated actor already. I really liked his portrayal, his whole motive of really just doing what he does to help his daughter. I thought it was beautiful, and the ending to his character arc was really satisfying. I'm really excited to see what they do with him in No Way Home, although I'm also kind of worried with what they're going to do with him in No Way Home. But that's a different discussion for a different day, mainly when No Way Home comes out next week. I really liked the story to this movie. It's a little crammed, a lot of stuff to go through in this whole 2.5-hour runtime. But a few highlights. I really liked Peter and Harry's first fight when Harry first takes the mantle of the New Goblin. Their little fight in the skyline of New York City, ending in Harry getting knocked out, getting amnesia. A lot of people don't like that whole storyline. I thought it was interesting. Probably the best scene in this movie for me is the birth of Sandman. It's a very emotional scene. It's very beautiful. The score is amazing. There's no dialogue whatsoever, and it's very symbolic of Flint Marko as a person. His life is in pieces, and he's trying to pull it back together, while he's also a man who is in pieces trying to pull himself back together as the Sandman. And I really loved that whole sequence. I feel like if it was released by itself with no title, no connection to Spider-Man whatsoever, I feel like it would have gotten nominated for Best Live Action Short Film. It's very, very great. I love it. And there is the symbiote suit, which I kind of enjoy. As a kid, I really liked the black-suited Spider-Man. I showed you a Doc Ock figure yesterday. Today, I have for you my black-suited Spider-Man figure. It's one of my prized possessions from my childhood, as is my entire Spider-Man figure collection, really, but specifically the black-suited Spider-Man. I thought that the black suit looked really cool. It was a awesome design. And I had a lot of black-suited Spider-Man memorabilia as a child. This was actually my favorite Spider-Man movie as a child, but now that I'm older, I see that I still enjoy it, but there's the other two are way better either way. I really, really loved the whole, once Harry gets his memory back, convinces MJ to dump Peter, which also, by the way, Peter and MJ are a couple in this movie, and I really enjoyed their chemistry together, but we'll get more on MJ a bit later. Either way, I really liked the fight in Harry Osborn's mansion between him and Peter once Harry gets his memory back, convinces MJ to dump Peter. I thought it was a very good scene, very brutal, intense. It ends with Peter throwing a bomb back in Harry's face and presumably killing him, but we get more on that later in the movie. And then after that, you get led to the emo Peter stuff, which a lot of people love to clown on, which is understandable because it's an absolutely hilarious scene. I just find it oddly good, if that makes sense. I really like the emo Peter stuff because if you really pay attention to Peter Parker in these movies, he's just some nerdy dork who doesn't know what cool is, who just gains this new self of confidence, now acting on what he thinks cool is, and I really like that. It's funny, it's cringy, it's just a fun sequence. I really like that. On top of that, with the whole him being kind of a jerk to Jameson in the Daily Bugle, sitting in his chair, eating his candy, I think it's absolutely hilarious. Then we're led to the jazz club scene where he just makes a whole show out of it. It's just funny. I really like the emo Peter stuff. And this is also where the Bully Maguire meme comes from, where he pushes Eddie up against the wall. And I really like this movie. I'm sorry. And the scene where Peter eventually realizes how the symbiote suit is affecting him and goes to the church tower to rip it off. It's a very intense scene. Probably another one of the best scenes in this movie. I really loved it, and Eddie just so happens to be there, gets the symbiote on him, turns into Venom, which, yes, Venom probably should have been saved for the next movie, but that's not Sam Raimi's fault, that's Sony's fault. They literally forced his hand and made him put Venom in this movie. Either way, I find this version of Venom legitimately scary. Like I said earlier in this video, I really liked this version of Venom. I thought he was really intense, and I thought Topher Grace was just having a blast in this movie, and I just really liked that. And I really like the final fight where Harry comes back to help Peter and fight Sandman and Venom, since they're working together. Sandman's giant form is a little weird, and I don't know what they were thinking when they did that, but hey, it's fine, because I like what the final battle gave us. It gave us Peter and Harry teaming up, making amends for what they have done and said to each other in the past. It's a very intense scene. Venom does die. Sandman gets away. Peter lets him go, but still he gets away. And Harry dies. Venom's about to kill Peter with the glider, and well, he jumps in front of it and dies. Well, he doesn't die right away. He lives long enough for Peter to fully make amends with him, but I thought it was a very emotional scene, and I actually cried as a kid seeing it, because I liked Harry as a kid. I still like Harry, but still, it's beside the point. But I really liked this movie. One thing I feel really stupid for not mentioning in the last two movies, the score. Danny Elfman did the score for the first two movies. It's absolutely amazing, iconic, part of my childhood. I listen to the original theme almost daily. And the score in this movie is not done by Danny Elfman, but I feel like whoever did it, I don't remember his name, I'm terribly sorry. He did a really good job as the composer for this movie. There's actually a really good scene in the movie. After Peter gets rid of the black suit, he sees the newscast of Venom and Sandman attacking, and he goes into his apartment, he picks up a briefcase, and he pulls out his old suit, and he just looks at it. And in this scene, you hear the classic theme from the first two movies play. And throughout this entire movie, you don't hear it without it being corrupted by either Sandman's theme or the symbiote theme, because throughout this whole movie, his mind was clouded by either fame or revenge. But when he looks at that suit, he realizes what he became Spider-Man for was not for fame or revenge. It was because of the responsibility he felt he had to this city and to Uncle Ben. And it was an absolutely beautiful scene, probably one of the best in the entire trilogy, and I absolutely love it. Now, moving on to things I don't like. There's a couple things I don't like in this movie. First of all, it's Mary Jane, how they did her character in this movie. It really wasn't the best. She didn't really have much to do except for to be jealous of Peter and be easily manipulated by Harry, and then eventually, once again, be the damsel in distress in the third act for Spider-Man to rescue. And apparently Sam Raimi didn't want MJ to be the damsel in distress once again. Neither did Kirsten Dunst, and they had a whole thing where she was the one who convinced Harry to help Peter at the end. But Sony said, no, Mary Jane's been damsel in distress all the other movies, go ahead and do it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I didn't really care for how they handled her in this movie, that's about it. And the handling of Gwen Stacy in this movie. She's not really given much to do, which they should have had Gwen Stacy in the first movie and have her die on the bridge instead of Mary Jane be captured by the Green Goblin, because it would have lined up more with the comics. But either way, they introduced Gwen Stacy too little too late in this trilogy, I feel, and she really wasn't given anything to do, which was kind of a bummer, because I liked Gwen Stacy in the comics, and I will get certainly to Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but yeah, it's just kind of a bummer she didn't really have much to do in this movie. Final thoughts on this movie? I still really love this movie. I still do not get the absolute hate this movie gets, because I just find it to be entertaining and a good cap to this trilogy, especially Harry Osborn's arc throughout the trilogy. But I just don't get it. I don't get why people dislike it. Spider-Man 3 is a very fun movie, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. So that was my review for Spider-Man 3. Have you seen it? You probably have. If so, what did you think about it? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this video. And I'll see you all tomorrow with my start of the Amazing Spider-Man movies.